Night in a lush rainforest. A narrow trail of leaf fragments seems to crawl across the forest floor. Each piece is hoisted by a tiny carrier, an ant dwarfed by the slice of green it bears. By moonlight, hundreds of these leaf cutters march in unison, as if guided by a silent signal. They do not eat the leaves. Instead, they carry the harvest to an underground city, nourishing a secret fungus garden hidden below the soil. The purpose is collective, far greater than any one ant's needs. Dawn breaks on the other side of the world, revealing another scene. In the savannah, a legion of army ants is on the move. They surge forward in a living flood, swarming over the earth. Blind and relentless, they flow as one body, overwhelming everything in their path. Insects and even scorpions flee before the onslaught. This is not a mere swarm of individuals, but a single superorganism on the hunt. Ants thrive in almost every habitat on Earth. Their secret is society. Ants live together in highly organized colonies, and most colonies are so united in purpose that they behave like a single organism. An ant colony is often called a superorganism, and for good reason. An ant alone is vulnerable, nearly nothing. But an ant colony together becomes something else entirely. A factory, an army, a city, a life form composed of many lives. Each colony begins with a single mother, the queen, and her offspring. It is a close-knit family of the queen, her adult daughters, workers, and the brood of eggs and larvae. The queen is the origin of them all, but she is no tyrant issuing commands. She merely lays the eggs. That is all. The workers, thousands of her daughters, run the day-to-day operations of the nest. In some species, a colony has only a few dozen workers. In others, it can swell to millions, more populous than any human city. An underground metropolis teems with life, tunnels and chambers alive with constant motion. Inside these hidden cities, order reigns. Ants are master architects and engineers. They carve out labyrinthine tunnels and chambers beneath the earth, while others weave leafy nests in the treetops or build mounds that breathe with ventilation. Every chamber has a purpose: nurseries for the young, pantries for food storage, even rubbish pits to isolate waste. By instinct and cooperation, they create homes perfectly tuned to their environment, structures that can endure decades. What's extraordinary is how this order emerges without a blueprint. There are no diagrams, no foreman directing the work. Each ant follows simple rules and responds to local cues, yet collectively they achieve complex construction and synchronized activity, as if an invisible hand guides them, a shared mind flickering through thousands of tiny bodies. One ant on its own could never accomplish what a colony does. Alone, ant would soon be lost and helpless, unable to survive for long. Yet together, ants convert soil into cities, leaves into gardens, and swarms into living bridges. The deeper we peer into the colony, the more the lines between individuals begin to blur. It feels as though we are watching one creature made of a multitude. How do these myriad little beings become one? That mystery lies at the heart of their society. To unravel it, we delve into the hidden networks that bind them together. How do they coordinate? What language do they speak? Deep inside the nest, in a dark tunnel, two ants cross paths. They pause and touch antennae, a silent exchange of information. One has returned from a food source, the other is heading out. In that brief antennal contact, a message passes between them, perhaps the scent of food or a hint of danger. Moments later, the outbound ant shifts direction, guided by her nestmates' chemical instructions. Ants communicate in a language of smell. Members of a colony talk with pheromones, chemical signals invisible to us. A worker that finds nectar lays a pheromone trail back to the nest, a breadcrumb announcing this way to food. Soon others follow and reinforce the trail with their own scent. One ant's discovery quickly becomes a busy highway of foragers ferrying food home. If danger threatens, a crushed comrade or an intruder at the gate, ants sound an alarm with a different pheromone, summoning reinforcements to attack. Without a sound, an entire colony can mobilize through these hidden chemicals. Every ant carries the colony's identity in its aroma. A unique chemical blend on their bodies lets ants know who is kin and who is foe. If a stranger sneaks in, guards recognize the alien scent at once. The queen herself exudes a special perfume that all her daughters know, a signal that binds the family together. Through scent, touch, and vibrations, they share information that knits thousands of individuals into one. This harmony has no central conductor. The queen gives no orders. She simply lays eggs. Each worker chooses her actions autonomously, but not alone. She reacts to cues around her, a whiff of a food trail here, a tap of antennae there, or the absence of a familiar smell signaling something's wrong. Workers choose tasks based on interactions with nest mates and the needs of the moment. If the brood is hungry, workers spontaneously begin foraging. If the nest wall cracks, nearby ants instinctively start patching it. No single ant sees the whole picture, yet together their actions synchronize. This is distributed intelligence in action. Each ant's brain is tiny and simple, but thousands together solve problems no solitary insect could. The colony processes information as a collective mind. When the colony needs a new home, dozens of scouts scour the area for sites. They evaluate options, a hollow log, a snug crevice, and recruit others to the most promising spot. A consensus slowly forms. Soon the colony agrees on the best site and moves in as one. A lone ant could never weigh so many options, but the colony's collective brain can. Even on their pheromone highways, ants coordinate like clockwork. Hundreds of workers march in opposite directions without collision, each following a lane and adjusting pace to avoid jams. Information ripples through their network. Food sources appear or vanish. Dangers flare up and fade. Duties change. The colony itself acts like a giant brain. A single neuron knows nothing by itself, but millions together create a mind. A single ant has no insight, but thousands appear to think and respond as one. Through pheromone signals and touch, the colony perceives its world as one being. Guided by chemical codes and simple rules, they coordinate building, foraging, and defense as if with a singular purpose. It raises a question. If thousands of small brains can act as one, what greater feats can this superorganism accomplish? In California, thousands of rival ants clash at a territorial border, and the ground is soon carpeted with the fallen. Along a battlefront stretching for miles, waves of Argentine ants from opposing super colonies fight relentlessly. An estimated 30 million ants may die each year in this war, yet the vast colonies remain undeterred. Ants wage war fiercely, each soldier fighting to the death for her colony. The worst enemy of ants is other ants. But ants are not only warriors, they are also farmers and builders. Deep in the Amazon, another marvel unfolds. Beneath the forest floor, leafcutter ants cultivate gardens of fungus. They clip fresh leaves and carry them below to feed a fungus that nourishes the colony. Ants pioneered agriculture. For 50 million years, they have farmed fungi in the dark, well before humans. Their nest is a sprawling underground city, with interconnected chambers for fungus gardens, nurseries, and waste dumps. One such colony spanned an area as large as a tennis court, housing millions of ants in chambers ventilated by shafts. Here the colony grows its own food and controls its climate. Ant ingenuity takes many forms. In Africa, swarms of driver ants live a nomadic life with no permanent home. By day, columns of these raiders surge through the jungle, overwhelming any creature too slow to flee. By night, they form a bivouac, a living nest, by interlocking their bodies to shelter the queen and brood. Come morning, the fortress unravels and the army marches on. These roving hordes can consume thousands of insects in a day. When floodwaters rise, fire ants turn themselves into a life raft. Hundreds of workers hook together, forming a living float that carries the queen and brood to safety. They can drift for weeks until reaching solid ground, cooperation keeping the colony afloat. In parched deserts, Honeypot ants convert some workers into living storage jars called repletes, swollen with sweet liquid to sustain the colony when food is scarce. In rainforests, an explosive strategy exists: the exploding ants of Borneo. When threatened, a minor worker ant ruptures her body, spraying toxic glue that kills the enemy at the cost of her own life. Meanwhile, larger soldiers plug the nest entrance with their heads to block intruders. Some ants even seal their nests shut each night from the outside, sacrificing themselves by morning. From bloated living pantries to exploding defenders, individual ants give their lives for the good of the colony. The colony always comes first. One of the most spectacular sights in the ant world is the birth of new colonies. A mature colony produces a generation of winged males and virgin queens. Then, on a warm evening, thousands of winged ants erupt from the nest in a synchronized nuptial flight, swarming like a drifting cloud. In midair, queens and males from different colonies meet and mate. Only a few young queens survive predators. The survivors shed their wings and begin new nests as queens of fresh colonies. And so the cycle begins anew. From epic wars to secret farms, from self-sacrificing sentinels to airborne pioneers, ants display behaviors that seem almost alien. These extreme adaptations continually redefine what it means to live as a collective. Now, stepping back to view the bigger picture, we ask, what can these tiny societies teach us about the nature of life and evolution on our planet? Ants are among the most successful life forms on our planet. There are over 14,000 known ant species, thriving in almost every land habitat. Scientists estimate Earth is home to 20 quadrillion ants, roughly 20,000 trillion individuals. Together, their total mass outweighs all wild birds and mammals on the planet combined. From rainforests to city sidewalks, they are everywhere, quietly shaping ecosystems. Biologist E.O. Wilson once called them the little things that run the world. Ants churn soil, spread seeds for countless plants, and keep insect pests in check. The world we know would falter without their unseen labor. Ants rose to prominence through the power of cooperation. They have been refining their social strategy for over 100 million years, since the age of dinosaurs. Their communal way of life gave them a tremendous edge. Teamwork let ants exploit resources and niches that solitary insects could not. Natural selection favored colonies that acted as a single superorganism. In an ant colony, the death of a worker means little as long as the colony survives. Ant queens can live for years or even decades, and entire colonies can persist for generations, outliving any single member. While individual ants come and go, the colony as a whole can be long-lived, a kind of immortality through perpetual renewal. Looking at an ant colony forces us to rethink what we consider an individual. Is the real organism the single ant or the entire colony? A lone ant, cut off from her nest, is almost nothing. She cannot build, cannot forage effectively, cannot even care for her young. But within the colony, she is like a cell in a body or a neuron in a brain. Each ant has a specialized role in the superorganism. No ant understands the grand design, yet collectively they achieve it. The intelligence of the colony emerges from the interaction of thousands of tiny brains, none of which sees the whole picture. It is a paradox, awareness and purpose arising from apparent mindlessness. How does complex order materialize from such simplicity? Scientists are still searching for the answers, one discovery at a time. The example of the ants stretches our perspective beyond biology. Their colonies challenge us with an alien form of social organization, one where the whole utterly eclipses the individual. We humans, with our sense of individuality, find it disconcerting to imagine a society where the self is entirely subsumed. Yet ants have achieved great evolutionary success by doing exactly that. By surrendering individual autonomy, they have become collective forces of nature. The story of ants is a humbling reminder that intelligence, cooperation, and even what we define as life can take forms very different from our own. Underfoot, lies an ancient, active world run by cooperation and chemical signals, indifferent to individual triumph or tragedy. Understanding this world raises profound questions. Where does one life begin and another end in such a system? Does a colony have a mind of its own? What does it mean to be an individual when one's purpose is only to serve the collective? These questions have no easy answers, and that is the enduring fascination of the ants. They force us to see life from a new perspective, upending our notions of society, altruism, and what defines an organism. They remind us that life isn't defined only by individual survival, but also by the networks and communities it weaves. The deeper we study ant colonies, the less individual life makes sense.